Brock Bowers is built different. There's not many people on this earth that could make that play, Besh told me.
We don't know who we are offensively, and that's a problem.
Getting the ball in the hands of your best players more often is always the prescription.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Upon Further Review, brought to you by Coors Light. I'm your host, Paul Gutierrez, and not a lot of positive things to reach back on with the Raiders this past weekend. They dropped their sixth straight game, this one to the Chargers in L.A., a capital city of Raider Nation, Los Angeles SoFi Stadium, but the final was 31-14. Raiders dropped to 2-10 on the season. Stay in line for a top 4 draft pick potentially, but first things first, they got a rivalry game coming up. The Denver Broncos come to Allegiant Stadium this weekend, and we'll see what kind of team shows up from the Raider perspective. Going forward, though, we need James Jones to join us, not only to go over what just happened in L.A., but also to kind of break down what the Raiders might be facing when the 10-2 Broncos come to town. James, what did you see, knee-jerk reaction, based off of what the Raiders showed up in L.A. this past weekend?
Oh man, I just seen an inconsistent team. I seen a team that really doesn't have an identity offensively. I seen a team that struggled to stop the run defensively. Kind of just some of the stuff that's been showing up all year long, man. Just the inconsistencies on the offense and defense. You're not going to win a lot of football games scoring 15 points a game. I really don't care how good your defense is. I don't care if you got the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense. It's going to be very hard to win games scoring 15 points. So we have to try to figure out a way to score some points to make it easier on our defense. And we got to find a way to stop the run, too. We cannot allow people just to run the ball on us right now. So a lot of those things showed up, man, and now you just got to get back to the drawing board and come out here and compete against the Broncos.
When it comes to the Raiders and the Broncos, they faced each other less than a month ago, November 6th in Denver, and it was a tight game. It was only 10-7, and the Raiders had the ball driving with an opportunity to either kick the field goal or go ahead. There's been some changes, obviously, from the Raider perspective, like you've talked about, the lack of an identity there, but you got a new offensive play caller. Chip Kelly was relieved of his duties last week. Greg Olsen took over, and some of the things that we saw there with Geno Smith, technically, it was his highest completion rate of the season. He completed close to 79% of his passes, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, an acrobatic interception by the Chargers. What did you see out of that offense with the fits and the starts under Greg Olsen, calling the plays for the third time in his third different stint with the Raiders?
Well, what I did see was balance. You look at that game, and I wish we would have been better on third down because we didn't even have a lot of opportunities, and a lot of plays in that game. But, I seen balance. He ran the ball and he threw the ball about 50-50, So I think that has to be the formula, man. I know that, we want to throw the ball with Geno Smith, but we have to hand that ball off to number 2. We have to give him some carries. We have to be balanced. And not only that, we got to stay ahead of the sticks. If we stay ahead of the sticks, I think that can help us be more balanced and be able to, convert some of these third downs. But I did see some balance. You did see some young players making some plays. You've seen a couple more screen plays than usual. So it was some good stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about putting the ball in the end zone. And we have not been good at that.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You can't win many games if you're only averaging 15 points a game, and then when you look at it at the end of the day, they only scored 14 against the Chargers. One thing that I did want to get your point of view on here, and you've talked about this from day one. What is the offensive identity? Well, now you reach a certain tipping point in the season. Now it's time to start playing the young guys. An interesting stat here that our guys came up with, Geno Smith targeted rookies 59% of the time on his pass attempts. Ashton Jeanty had 8 targets. Jack Besh, 3 targets. Dante Thornton, 2 targets. Is that what we're talking about now? Is that something you like to see?
Well, that's something I love to see because how are you going to go into next season knowing what Jack Besh can do, what Thornton can do? We know we're getting a little taste of what Jeanty can do, but how are we going to know what those guys can do? And it's not like we're competing to get into the playoffs,
Right.
That's going to be very, very hard. I mean, I don't even know if we are kicked out already, but
Raiders are eliminated. They are officially eliminated.
Yeah, but you have to see what these young fellas got. That's how you build a football team. You got to be able to see what these young fellas got. And if you don't throw them the ball or you don't give them opportunities, you'll never be able to see what these young fellas have.
One guy that is a young guy, second year in the league, but I think every time we think we've seen everything we possibly can from him, we see what Brock Bowers did. He's running a pattern out towards that pylon. He does a counterclockwise move. He sticks his non-dominant hand out, scoops the ball up, touchdown. What was your reaction? Did you jump off the couch? Did you scream when you saw Brock Bowers' touchdown catch?
Well, the guys in the building and the ladies in the building know I said, man, 89s always find a way to make plays, that. But man, Brock is a special football player, man. Brock is not just the best player on the Raiders or one of the best players on the Raiders. He's one of the best players in the whole league. Brock Bowers is special. I don't know what a game plan is and how to put it together, but I know if I was an offensive coordinator, I would put it together for 89 for sure. I don't care if he comes out of the game with 29 targets. I am going to try to find a way to get him the ball. He's just that special of a player. I know defenses are going to try to take him away, but he's showing even if you do try to take me away, it ain't enough. Just throw it over here and I can still make that play. That's how special Brock Bowers is, man. He's fun to watch. And you talk about a catch, man. That was a hell of a catch.
And that's what I was going to ask you about is the last time the Raiders played the Broncos, 0 targets in the second half. And as you're saying, get him the ball. Now the Broncos have Patrick Surtain back. How does that factor into, again, there's a fine line between taking what the defense gives you and taking what you want. How does his return, and more than likely he's going to cover Brock Bowers, how does that affect how the Raiders can impact things this weekend?
Well, I think it has to be good on good. Brock Bowers is the best player on our offense. So we can't allow just somebody following Brock Bowers to automatically say in our brains and in our head or the way we call in the game to say, they got Pat Surtain on Brock, let's go another way. No, Brock is Brock as well. We have to get Brock opportunities. So if Pat Surtain is following him, hey, man, it's going to be a battle all game long. You're going to win some, I'm going to win some, but we still going to spin the ball over there to him. We do not win this game or we do not have success on offense if Brock don't touch it. I don't care who's following him. I don't care if Deion Sanders is following him. Mm-hmm. We do not have success if he is not involved in the game plan. So we got to figure out a way to get him involved. And to be honest with you, I hope it is one-on-one coverage because if it's one-on-one coverage on Brock with Pat Surtain, throw it over there.
Yeah.
And I promise if you throw it over there 10 times, he's going to come up with 7 of them. He's a bigger body than Pat Surtain. He's more physical. He's bigger. Only thing he's not is faster. Give him some opportunities to go make some plays.
What's interesting about Brock, and I just talked to him in the locker room, he still just has this, I don't want to say it's a wonderment about the game. He just likes to go out there and play. He was asked again, is that the best catch you've ever made? He's like, I don't know, maybe, possibly. I asked him after the game, what goes through your mind when you make a play like that? And he literally, James, he said, nothing. Nothing goes through my mind. I'm not thinking about anything. Then he stopped and he looked at me and he said, really? Nothing in my mind? I said, dude, that's the way you're thinking. That's the way you play. Because he did acknowledge once he starts thinking too much, then he won't be able to perform. How as a former receiver yourself, how important is it to maintain that mindset if you're a playmaker?
I was just about to say that, man. Yeah. Brock Bowers plays like, the kids play out here on the streets. Just, it is what it is. I ain't thinking about nothing. If the ball's in the air, I'm going to go get the ball. If they throw it over here to me. And you have to have that mindset. Because if you are thinking too much, hey, this is how I'm going to do this release. Oh, man, you're going to play a whole lot slower, right?
Yeah.
The name of the game in football, especially at wide receiver, is reacting to stuff. You don't know what a DB is going to do. He can play inside leverage. He can play outside leverage. At the snap of the ball, he could be inside leverage. He could jump to outside leverage at the snap. Everything's reaction. When the ball's in the air, sometimes you're going to be covered. Sometimes you're going to be wide open. But the only thing you know is ball's in the air. And when the ball in the air, I got to figure out a way to go get it. One hand, two hand, one finger. It does not matter. But Brock Bowers is that dude. And I absolutely love it because I let you know that the game is extremely slowed down for him in year 2. I'm not thinking about nothing. Boom, I hear the play call. Let's go play ball.
I asked him, too, after the game, a few snaps before that touchdown catch, the one-handed grab. He had another one that was caught in the end zone, but the Chargers had called timeout right before. So I asked him about this. He said, yeah, it was pretty funny. We basically ran the same play. I heard the whistles, but I figured, why not catch it? I might as well just catch it. And I'm like, if that's the mindset, I mean, how can you go wrong there? But for him to be able to get the ball and have the ball thrown to him, Geno Smith has to be protected. How are the Raiders going to slow down this Broncos pass rush? I mean, they sacked Geno 6 times the last time they faced.
Well, number one, that is going to be key, like I said before, to stay ahead of the sticks.
Yeah.
Number 2, you have to have a plan for their pressure. You have to have a plan to get the ball out. Number 3, Geno Smith is going to have to use his legs. I'm going to say it again. Geno Smith is going to have to use his legs. I don't know who the best offensive line is in the National Football League, but what I do know is every last one of these quarterbacks on 32 teams is running and moving outside the pocket every single game to create some plays. It is going to be a time to where the offensive line is not going to protect. Geno Smith has to know that in his time clock, that it's time for me to get out of here. If I don't have a plan to win with the football and get the ball out of my hands, Geno Smith has to be more aggressive with his legs. That will slow down the pass rush. But those three things have to happen. Ahead of the sticks, we got to run the ball, and Geno Smith has to move and make some plays with his legs. And I'm not talking Coach O calling, sprint ride options and moving him. I'm talking about when you drop back on your fifth step and you don't like nothing and you feel like some pressure is coming, you got to go.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think a lot of fans and a lot of people that have been covering this team for a long time wonder why he's not doing more of that, whether it's a play call, whether it's the protection, whatever it is. On the flip side, Bo Nix hasn't been sacked all that much. Max Crosby and company, they really got to bring a little bit of heat on him, make him uncomfortable as well. If you look and you see what Denver's offensive line is, they're ranked number 1 in pass blocking, and that's because they've only allowed 14 sacks. How do the Raiders get to him now? And I mean, is it stunts? Is it blitz? What kind of things can get Bo Nix off of his timetable?
That's a really good question because Bo Nix does all the things I just said.
Yeah.
Bo Nix has a running game. Bo Nix gets the ball out of his hands fast. And when everything looks ugly, Bo Nix makes plays with his feet and his legs, and he gets outside the pocket. So, it's going to be tough to get a hold of Bo Nix. I think the best thing we can do is start fast offensively. If we can start fast offensively and take their run game away and make them one-dimensional now, those pass rushers can come downhill and get after Bo. But if this is a close game, it's going to be tough because they're going to be ahead of the sticks. They're going to be able to run it. Bo going to make plays with his legs, and they have a plan, him and Coach Fox over there, to get the ball out of his hands fast. So it's going to be tough. The best thing we do is offensively jump on them and be able to make them one-dimensional.
And then lastly, from the Raiders' perspective, can that defense have a repeat performance? Again, it was only 10-7, and the Raiders had a shot late in that game. They had forced 9 drives with 0 first downs against that Bronco offense. They held the Broncos at 220 yards of total offense. Caillou Blue Kelly, it's a lot of feast or famine for him right now as a defensive back, getting interceptions, but then also other things are happening on the field for him. What do you see from that secondary, especially when you put your wide receiver hat on, which I'm sure you never take it off anyway, but again, it's pass rush and pass coverage complementing each other. What is the key there from the secondary?
Yeah, I like our secondary, man. I like the way our secondary is played. You talked about Kelly. Stokes is on the other side playing some really good football. But not only that, Denver doesn't have just no bona fide number 1 wide receiver that truly, truly scares you and that you have to really, really worry about. I love Cortland Sutton. He's a good football player, but he's not a bona fide number 1, a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, and things like that really puts fear in you. So I like our defense's chances. Our safeties play good football, come up and play the run good. I like our chances, but like I say, the main thing is making them be one-dimensional. And I think if we can do that, I like our chances of our secondary being able to guard these guys and get our hands on some footballs and some interceptions and make some opportunities. So we definitely have a chance. We definitely can go out there and play some good defense. We just got to go out there and put it out there, man, and get it done.
All about
this offense, to be honest with you, this offense, the last couple of weeks has looked different with J.K. Dobbins. It's been tough to run the ball without J.K. Dobbins. So, we should be okay.
All about complimentary football. James, thank you so much for joining me as always, and look forward to seeing you after the game on the postgame show.
Appreciate you, my brother.
All right, stay with us because coming up, we've got the epitome of a local boy makes good kind of a story. Jonah Laulu from Centennial High School here in Las Vegas. 4 sacks through 6 games early in the season. He's next. Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review. And my guest today, glad to be joined by defensive tackle Jonah Laulu, second year with the Raiders, second year in the NFL. Already career high in sacks for Jonah. I mean, what's that feeling like getting there? And I know from a fan's perspective, you get to the quarterback, see ball, get ball, but mentally, what goes through your mind when you take a quarterback down?
At first, it's a surge of excitement. Like, you just excited, happy, obviously, because, getting to the quarterback, especially interior, is as hard as it is already. And to get that, obviously a great feeling. And then you celebrate with your guys, and then afterwards, then you get hit with the tired. You're like, oh, I'm tired now. Like, I'm celebrating. And it's funny, Max even says himself, like, the only time, because he's never tired. And, like,
right.
He was saying, like, only time you get tired is when you celebrate, like, from after celebrating, because you just get so excited.
The adrenaline rush.
Yeah. It's a great feeling.
Interesting. And so that journey to the quarterback, for you, it starts on the interior. And with your 4 sacks in those first 6 games, that was the third most by an interior defensive lineman in Raiders history. Bill Pickel. You tied Bill Pickel, and I'm old enough to remember when Bill Pickel was on that line with Howie Long and those guys. For you, your journey, not only to the quarterback, but to the Raiders, it's kind of an interesting story because you're a Las Vegas native, born here, Centennial High School. When you were graduating high school in 2018, the Raiders were building Allegiant Stadium. Did you keep an eye on that as you were still in high school?
Kind of, not really. I mean, just driving on the freeway, going to the Strip, because that's usually the only time you're on the going over there. But I would always see it, and just coming back from college all the time, visiting home, it was like the stadium was bigger and bigger every time, and I was like, dang, it looks crazy. But yeah, I didn't think I'd be playing in there, but yeah, it's crazy to be able to be here back home after everywhere I've been. But now, yeah, the stadium, it was they built it fast too. I ain't gonna lie. Because the freeways, they go slow. But hey, when they do construction on the freeways, it's slow. But that stadium was built fast.
Yeah, when they did the groundbreaking, the Raiders did the groundbreaking was in November of 2017, and then the team is playing its first game in here in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. At that point, you're at Hawaii, getting ready to transfer to Oklahoma. What was that journey like going from Las Vegas, the ninth island, to the original islands in Hawaii first?
It was really cool to be able to go to Hawaii. It was a great experience just from coming from Vegas, a really fast city, and then going there more slow. It's a different country out there. Like, it's so much more laid back. The people, just like a family out there, and with my teammates out there, we're all super far from home, and it brought us all closer together. And so it was just like it was a great time.
How many years were you in Hawaii again, playing for the
4.
Warriors? 4. So you were there for 4 years.
Yeah.
When you were there, then obviously you played UNLV in the Mountain West Conference. Did you ever come back and play at Sam Boyd, or where were you guys playing?
Yeah, we played at Sam Boyd before was it condemned now, or is it?
It's still standing, but yeah, nobody can get in.
It's not condemned, but it's nobody going over there. But
yeah,
I got to play in Sam Boyd, and then got to play in Allegiant too over there before I left, which was really cool.
So when you're going to high school at Centennial, and again, like I said, we got a big age gap here. I'm old enough to remember when there were only 9 high schools in Las Vegas, and Green Valley was the sparkling, shiny new thing on the hill. Now, is there 30-plus high schools in Las Vegas?
I wouldn't even know. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's Vegas has blown up for sure. I mean, I think we're getting more of a community out here. I feel like when I was growing up, we had a community, but like I think it was like a tight-knit community in certain areas. It's just because people always come to Vegas and then they would leave, or coming in, moving in, or go somewhere like Vegas. People, because I remember in my neighborhood, people would come move in for like a couple months and then be gone. But I mean, it was only like a select few of us that would stay in there. But I mean, I think Vegas has really grown with a community. I mean, especially with the sports teams we have coming. And I don't know, it's a great thing to see, to be able to have that sense of community here. Not such as fast of a life, obviously the Strip and all that, but to have camaraderie with your neighbors and whatnot.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that Las Vegas actually has neighborhoods.
Yeah,
and has a culture.
Yeah, every time I say I'm from Vegas, people say, "Oh, so you live on the Strip?" I'm like, "No, bro."
It's been that way for a minute because I went to UNLV in the early '90s when basketball was king, and it was the same thing. Much smaller city. It was about 500,000 people in Vegas at that time. Now there's more than 2 million.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. So you make that jump from Vegas to I don't want to say sleepy Hawaii, but definitely more low key. Then you go to laid back. Then you go to Norman, Oklahoma. What's that transition like?
So Oklahoma was, I wouldn't say culture shock, but when I got there, it was cold, so I transferred in right after Christmas, right after New Year's. I got there like January 14th.
Yeah.
And it was cold. And so coming from here, and then to Hawaii, I have no hoodies, jackets, like no winter clothes. So I went there, and I had like probably like 2 or 3 hoodies and some like not that many sweats. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's cold. Like it's snowing. Like I was not prepared at all. So that was, I think, the biggest shock for me. Even though it's not really that cold out there, but it was snowing. And so, but the culture, I loved the culture there. I mean, the community of the small town, Norman, Oklahoma. It was I don't know, I really enjoyed it there. But yeah, it was going from, here to Hawaii, which, is a good school, but it's not obviously like known for being like a football school.
Right.
And Oklahoma is obviously a football school. And so going there was really crazy to be in that stadium with all those fans and people screaming at you and having an actual rivalry in college, because Hawaii, we didn't really have any rivals, and so Oklahoma obviously has Texas. So it was a really cool experience.
So when you're done 4 years in Hawaii, another couple in Oklahoma, the COVID year helps out a little bit in terms of getting that eligibility. The Raiders are interested in you, but they want to sign you as an undrafted free agent. The Colts jump in and actually draft you in the 7th round. Are you aware that the Raiders are interested in you at that point? Or, I mean, obviously you want to be drafted, you want to be in the league. What's your mindset at that point when you get the call from the Colts?
So, yeah, obviously you want to be drafted. Everybody has that dream of wanting to be getting that call and then having your family there with you and, just celebrating afterwards. But, I had no idea the Raiders were interested in me at all, because I actually came and did the local pro day here, like for people that have a football team in their hometowns, they can go do the local pro day or local workout or whatever you call it. And I did not think I was going to be coming here, like talk to the coaches and all that, and I thought it was just normal. I didn't actually think they had interest in me, and then so when I came here, it was a shock.
Okay, so after you get waived right away or cut after your first training camp. But then the Raiders jump in, and my understanding was you were about to go back to Indy to sign with the practice squad.
Yeah, literally.
And then Raiders like, no, we want this guy. What does your mind go? What goes through that? You get to come home.
Yeah, I was literally driving on the freeway, making the exit to get to the Colts facility in Indiana.
Oh, you're already there.
I was literally hopping on the exit, and then my agent texted me, and like it popped up on the screen on the car. Yeah. I was like, oh, it was like. You're getting claimed by the Raiders. Hold on, I'm confirming it. And I driving the car, and I was like, my heart dropped. I was like, wait, what? I had to pull into like a hotel because I just couldn't drive anymore. Like I needed to just stop because like it was like the world stopped. I don't know. My heart dropped, and then my heart was beating. I just got out of the car, was like pacing around outside. I was like, wait, what do you mean I'm going home? Like, and then he called me and was telling me how like he confirmed it. Like I'm gonna be going to the Raiders and then he was like, "Oh, I gotta go," because it was a busy day for him. And he's got to get everything situated. And so I'm just sitting there like,
in a hotel parking lot.
Yes, literally. Like, oh, I'm going home. Like, this is crazy. Because I thought I was gonna go home anyways. 'Cause I got waived, but then I was gonna go home for like the little break before the season started to see my family. And I was like, well, I guess I'm really going home. And yeah, when I got here, my sisters were there at the hotel to pick me up already, and then took me to my mom's house, and it was just a crazy day.
So what then was that first day in the Raider locker room like for you? I mean, you're a guy that drove by the stadium and saw it being built. You grew up in town when the Raiders announced they were coming. Now all of a sudden you're putting on the silver and black and getting in games. And even this year you've started more games than not. You're an integral part of that defensive line. I mean, are you able to kind of wrap your mind around that?
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's really crazy. Like, it's an honor. Like, it's super cool to me to be able to play for the hometown. And I did not in a million years think that I was going to be playing here, especially after the Raiders came. And because, like, when the Raiders came, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a Raiders fan now, like, support. And then, so when I came here in the locker room, I was super nervous. I was, because I didn't know anybody. Yeah. It's literally week 1. I come in on Monday of week 1, or not Monday, like the week before, like Thursday, Friday. Come in, and I'm just like in my locker looking around, like looking at everybody like, this is so crazy. I'm looking at the logo when I walk in. I'm like, this is so insane. When I came here, like the security guards, I was just nervous. I was like, this is so crazy. I get to be here. And I mean, I was hyped.
Yeah. It's almost like that logo is winking at you.
No, yeah, literally. I was
showed
like,
up.
This is crazy. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah. Jonah, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to get ready for this weekend's game against the Broncos.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
All right, everybody, stay with us. We've got Cynthia Frelund joining us with her numbers to know coming up next.
For the first time ever, step inside Allegiant Stadium on the eve of game day. When the building comes alive, this exclusive 75-minute guided tour gives you a rare access to the final pre-game prep, sound checks, lighting tests, rehearsals, and more. Go beyond the standard experience with behind-the-scenes access to suites, clubs, and areas off limits on regular tour. Hear untold stories of the stadium, feel the energy of kickoff coming alive, and you might even spot Raider Rusher. This is your all-access pass to game day, before the gates even open.
Meet Max Out. He's a credit wrecker. His eyes are bigger than his wallet. And his credit score pays the price. You see, Max doesn't know he should only use 30% or less of his credit limit, because using his full line can lower his score. Don't be like Max Out. Instead, learn how to avoid the wreckers at creditwreckers.com. Credit One Bank, for what's ahead.
Brock Bowers is built different. There's not many people on this earth that could make that play, Besh told me.
We don't know who we are offensively, and that's a problem.
Getting the ball in the hands of your best players more often is always the prescription.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review, and as always, joined by Cynthia Frelund. Cynthia, a lot to dive into numbers-wise, and then when I look at the records of these two teams, Broncos 10-2, Raiders 2-10. They just played each other less than a month ago, 10-7. The Raiders were into it until the very end of the game. How can the Raiders really, though, flip the script on the Broncos coming into this weekend at Allegiant Stadium?
Well, the Commanders showed us a few things. Number one, they showed us that this team cannot pressure, as in they can hold them to a low pressure rate. You think of the Broncos and you think of 41% pressure rate. They led the league like pretty much wire to wire so far. But last week, Washington held them to like 18%. That's just about half of their 41% normal and their lowest since 2023. So that's one thing. So commit to the run, stay committed to the run, and use short passes that get out of the hands of the quarterback quickly to get the heck away from anything Nick Bonito is going to try to bring in your face.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, too, because now there's been a change, obviously, with the Raiders' offensive play caller, Greg Olsen, Oli 3.0, I like to call him, since it's his third time calling the plays for the Raiders' offense. You saw some things there against the Chargers, and those two long drives that they had looked great. A lot of misfires otherwise than that. What is the key, then, to limiting those miscues against the Broncos? Because they sacked Geno Smith 6 times the last time they faced each other.
Yeah, so I think a lot of this is going to have to be stay committed to the run, even if it doesn't look all that great, and find ways to run to the outside is a much better value proposition against almost any team, but especially against the Broncos. And kind of, even if it doesn't always look great, it's okay to get 3-4 yards on first down. It's okay to not necessarily have it be these big chunk plays on every single down, but stay committed to something that keeps the defense guessing and keeps them a bit off balance so that the pressure isn't as big of a deal on Geno or anyone for that matter.
Besides that, just kind of limiting those self-inflicted wounds, right? I mean, against the Broncos last time, 11 penalties for 83 yards for the Raiders. The block punt on their own 14-yard line, which led to the go-ahead and winning field goal by the Broncos. And, of course, the missed game-tying field goal by Daniel Carlson. Beyond all of that, though, the thing I'm always most interested to hear from you is your number to know when it comes to this game. So go ahead. Let me get my pen, and I'm ready to go. What's your number to know?
You got it?
Got it. Ready to go.
Well, your number to know is 43%, as in Brock Bowers last week had 2 sub 43% completion probability catches, including, I think you can probably guess where I'm going here, the one-handed touchdown catch, which had like a 0% probability of being caught by almost anyone. But if you're looking at Brock Bowers and you're looking at, okay, what in this game could be the difference maker? Zach Ertz really did show us something last week. The game plan that they used for him, he was really effective and helpful for his quarterback, Marcus Mariota. It depends on who you ask. I'm not really sure. But ultimately, I don't actually know anymore. I'm very confused about that. But, you know, when you're looking at Brock Bowers, he is an even better tight end and pass catcher than Zach Ertz. So in this case, looking at some of those quick passes, intermediate throws, crossers in different areas, in breaking routes, those are the areas where you could potentially find some success. Just kind of like stay away from Pat Surtain. That's a good plan.
Yeah, that would be a good plan, but you would think that the Broncos would put Surtain on him considering how good he has at just catching the ball. It's funny, we talked earlier about this, and I spoke with Brock in the locker room earlier today, and after the game, I asked him, well, what goes through your mind when you make a catch like that? He said, absolutely nothing. There's nothing going on in his mind when he's playing the game, see ball, catch ball. One thing that everybody should have in their mind, though, are your numbers to know. So the best way to get Cynthia's numbers to know, check them all out. Her breakdown is on the Raiders official YouTube page, but also on Raiders.com. Cynthia, thank you for making the time and joining me today.
You got it. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, so former Raiders guard Steve Wisniewski is again a Hall of Fame semifinalist for consideration for this year's Hall of Fame class. It's the third time he's done it, and from his point of view, it's the final time that he's eligible to be in the modern era. Otherwise, he goes into the senior class, and that's a whole other animal there. Anyway, Lincoln Kennedy and I, we got together a couple years ago. We did a book we combined called If These Walls Could Talk, Stories from the Raiders Sideline, Locker Room, and Press Box. And Lincoln definitely wanted to get Steve Wisniewski involved in the book. We had a lot of different Q&As in it. We talked with Steve a little bit. Up on Raiders.com right now, we've got an excerpt from the chapter with Steve, and it was basically him just what made him tick, what made him excel on the football field to the point where he could potentially be a Hall of Famer. So I want to read a little bit to you from that chapter, the straight Q&A from Steve Wisniewski. We asked him, what was an attitude adjustment in the locker room, and what was the pin move on the field? And really, the all kind of stemmed from his interactions with Howie Long, because Howie Long obviously was going in the Hall of Fame. He was a veteran. He was a stud, a star on the team. So this rookie offensive lineman had to go up against him. And he talked about it wasn't necessarily a fraternity prank. He called it a beat down in love. Sometimes guys get squirrely. They don't have that attitude. So they've got to kind of give them an attitude adjustment in the locker room, whether that was simply a matter of knocking them down, tickling them, or giving them a little noogie or whatever it may be. The pin move, well, when he's talking about that, Howie said he used to love to throw a heavy rip during the games, because back in those days, guys used to be able to club you. Not in the head, but they would use a heavy club to hit your shoulder pads or a heavy rip to drive their arm up and in. And when Howie used to drive his arm up and into his shoulder pad, I found out real quick, if I just jammed his hip, it only takes about 15 pounds of pressure on his hip to torque him. Bend him backwards, drop him right in place. I got good at that, Wiz said. With the pin move, guys who would throw a heavy rip, you just drop them right in place. It worked real well against Howie, and he was like, damn, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Nowadays, they'd kind of call holding on that, Wiz said. It really isn't holding. You're just collapsing a guy's hip. A different era, a different time. But they let us get away with a little bit more than that. But that was the pin move. And then to finish his Howie story, he said, I honestly felt like I sucked when I first came in the league. But after my second year in the NFL, I was voted to my first Pro Bowl. And that was by the grace of God, only because he had to go against Howie every single day in practice. I mean, there was no one I was going to face in the game that was going to match up what I had to practice against. All right, so for more information on the legacy and the career of Steve Wisniewski, go to Raiders.com/news, and you can find everything on there. All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of Upon Further Review. Thanks to our guests, James Jones, Jonah Laulu, and Cynthia Frelund, for previewing this Sunday's game against the Broncos at home in Allegiant Stadium. To stay up to date on all things silver and black, check out our shows, and you can watch them all on our YouTube channel, and visit Raiders.com for more content.